What's up, Unlocking Your Inner Strength listeners? How would you like to know about the 3 types of days that you can use to maintain a healthy balance while still striving to be the best in the world at what you do? Well, I have good news for you. I've put together a special report showing you exactly how to do this. It's normally $45, but since you're a loyal listener to the show, you can get it for only $10 at unlockingyourinnerstrength.com/time.
You're listening to The Inner Strength Show. If you want to step into your greatness, you've come to the right place. Here is your host, the human strength expert, Kyle Newell.
This is episode number 70 of Unlocking Your Inner Strength, the podcast. It's a podcast about what we believe at Newell Strength and what my life philosophy is and all that good stuff. So I have some really cool stuff for episode 70 today. We're going to be going over the fallacies of fat loss, 4 fallacies of fat loss. But I'm also going to, as I did the last podcast, kind of go over some mindset stuff to start out because I know that's super important. And I know that there is, it's episode number 70, Brandon. I see you. It's super important because we all struggle with mindset and confidence and sometimes there's stuff you want to do, but we realize, man, there's so many steps to get to that. So, it's something I always am focused on and something I'm always trying to train my mind to do. So with that, here we go. So I'm listening to a series of interviews with Jim Camp, who's passed away now. He was the world's most feared negotiator. He's the guy that the FBI would bring in to negotiate deals with China and hostage negotiations. He would negotiate with terrorists, all these people. Really interesting stuff. But one thing he keeps talking about is you have to be very clear on your mission and purpose. You can't enter any negotiation without your mission and purpose being very clear. Now, if we know from Mind Map, when we don't have clarity, you go into threat mode because you don't know what the next step is. The brain is a pattern recognition machine, meaning it needs prediction and response. And when you're moving forward in life, it's a negotiation always with yourself about what you want to become, what you want to do. And a lot of times that self-doubt gets in our way and we let it get the best of us just because we're not clear on the mission and purpose. Now, you have to realize too, when we're dealing with yourself or other human beings, we are the apex predator on this earth, human beings. Okay, we can use our brain in a way that no other creature can. So when we come from a position of need, that means we're going to be in our animal brain. We're not going to think rationally. Okay, neediness means we need something to survive. And it's not a good position to approach anything by. Now, if you want to do something, that's great. But neediness, it puts you on, survival. It's in your reptile brain, your mammal brain. If you look at Maslow's hierarchy of needs, it's at the bottom of the pyramid. So don't approach anything as if you need it or your life depends on it, because it usually doesn't. Usually it's something you want to do and you might not just know how to do it yet. And lastly, before we get into the fat loss piece, I was at a Thomas Plummer seminar this past Thursday and Friday, which the guy is awesome. I think he's about 70 years old right now. He's a legend in the fitness business, brilliant mind. And I was getting to hang with my buddy Vince and some other guys, so that was really cool to be there. But after day one on Thursday up in Connecticut, he said, okay, we're going to do a Q&A. Ask me anything you want. So usually when I have that opportunity to ask a very high-level person anything I want, I usually ask them about success and mindset. So I said, Thomas, what do you do when you get down and what drives you? And he said, look, first of all, there are no bad days. If you're living, it's a good day. If you're above the dirt on this side, it's a good day. And tomorrow is always up here. Meaning if you don't succeed today or you have a rough day, tomorrow. The sun's going to rise tomorrow. And that really hit home for me this past weekend. One of our longtime clients who actually just moved away, we still in contact frequently, texted me. He just found out that he has liver failure, which is crazy. It's crazy to me. I mean, the guy's not a drinker or anything, but it really puts stuff in perspective. I mean, now the guy's going to have to battle for his life. And unfortunately, we only have one liver. Otherwise, if it was a kidney, I would donate. Right? You got to live out your core values and your mission all the time. And that's the way you got to think. But anyway, it puts it in perspective. But then Thomas said, if you are a Ferrari, why would you only want to go 60 miles an hour? Why would you not want to push the limits and see if you can get up to 200 miles per hour and see if you can push it, until the car's going to flip over? He talked about a Bugatti. A Bugatti can go 257 miles per hour before the car flips over. Now, who is the person that did that, first of all, and found out that, oh shit, I better not go 258 miles an hour? But just how awesome is that they know the limit? How, we got to push ourselves to that degree. And I can guarantee you that most people aren't doing that. Most people are not doing that. Most people are just trying to cruise through life. They're going 60 miles an hour. They want to be comfortable. And don't do it because you're obligated to do it, because you can. We have a limit, a very, in my mind, limitless potential as human beings. So push it and see where you can go. So that's it for the mindset piece today. Now we're going to go into 4 fallacies of fat loss. The fat loss one I did a while back seemed to get a lot of people interested in that. They liked the content. So I figured I would kind of address some different things with fat loss today. And you never know what I'm going to say when you get going. So here we go. The 4 fallacies. The first one is this myth of cardio. If you go to any Globo gym or you go to any big box gym, or you talk to most people, read most magazines, you're going to see that most people are going to spend most of their time on the elliptical or the treadmill, and they've been duped into believing that this is good for fat loss because they're in the fat burning zone. Now, the fat burning zone, throw it out the window. Cardio, as most people know it, is makes you more efficient at using body fat. So I'm going to repeat that. Cardio makes you more efficient at using body fat, which sounds good on the surface, right? But if your car is more efficient at using fuel, it's going to use less of it, not more of it. We want to have the big gas guzzling machine. We want to have the Hummer engine. We want to have the tank engine. So cardio is very ineffective for fat loss. Now, when we do our Rip Dads program, one of the things we recommend to them is that they go on a daily walk for at least 20 minutes. Indirectly, that's for fat loss, right? Because walking is one of the only forms, or the only that I know of, form of exercise that actually lowers cortisol levels. So most people are over fat because they're overly stressed. And I always tell people it's not what you eat necessarily, it's who you are when you're eating it. So that goes back, tie that back into cardio. Cardio is not effective for losing fat. Okay. Now with that too, get clear on the definition of cardio. Cardio is anything that works your heart. So I'm talking about cardio as most people know it. Cardio, if you want to have that big gas guzzling machine, you want it pumping head to toe. You want that heart pumping head to toe. So you do an upper body exercise, lower body, upper, lower, keep it real simple. You want to have oxygen debt. As soon as you can have a conversation again, you should be starting your next round. And obviously you have to work into this stuff. Counting calories for fat loss doesn't work. And you're going to say, oh, it works. I've seen it happen before. Temporary change is easy. Temporary change is easy. What we're really after is a transformation when these changes become permanent. If counting calories worked, people would only have to diet once, and then they would never have to diet again, and they would maintain that body composition that they temporarily got down to. Now, what happens when you count calories, that's taking the external approach to fat loss, when really a lot of it has to do with mindset and the nervous system and your GI health. Things like sleep, right? Sleep is the best diet in the world. I might touch on that in a little bit. But what happens when you cut calories? Your body temporarily has got to tap into body fat stores. Now, your body is very, very smart. It's going to get efficient at what you're doing. So if it gets, let's say I'm eating like when I used to, when I would compete in bodybuilding shows, I would diet at, let's say, 1,600, 1,700 calories a day. So if you're dieting at 1,600 or 1,700 calories a day, your body is eventually going to lower its metabolic machinery, so to speak, down to that level, and it's going to get very efficient at running off 1,600 to 1,700 calories a day. Now, things like your sex drive, your sexual system, reproductive system, immune system, some things are going to take a hit because there's only so much energy to go around, right? Now, what happens once I can no longer function off that amount of calories? Everybody's, willpower is going to run out. Willpower is very finite. The part of your brain that it's located in, the prefrontal cortex, runs off glucose. I don't care how disciplined you are. Once you're dieting super hard for a long time, you're going to break. Now, when I would go back to eating, let's say 2,500, 3,000 calories a day, which is not a lot of calories for a guy my size. My body's running off of an efficiency level of, let's say, 1,600 calories a day. All of a sudden, I'm eating 3,000 calories a day. Guess what's going to happen with that 1,400 calories, the extra 1,400 calories? It's going to get stored as fat. And it has a lot to do with the hormonal system. So counting calories doesn't work. You got to affect the hormonal system. That's why I'm a huge fan of intermittent fasting and sleep for fat loss. What's up, Unlocking Your Inner Strength listeners? How would you like to know about the 3 types of days that you can use to maintain a healthy balance while still striving to be the best in the world at what you do? Well, I have good news for you. I've put together a special report showing you exactly how to do this. It's normally $45, but since you're a loyal listener to the show, you can get it for only $10 at unlockingyourinnerstrength.com. nbsp.com/time. Eating more often. This one drives me insane. People will tell you, you got to eat more often to speed up your metabolism. This is one of the dumbest things I've ever heard. To lose fat, you have to eat less often. Is that just not common sense? Your metabolism is pretty much set. You have your basal metabolic rate, and a real simple way to figure that out is if you take your body weight and multiply it by 10. You can do what's called the Harris-Benedict equation, or we have the InBody machine at Newell Strength, which will give you your basal metabolic rate, but it comes very eerily close if you just take your body weight times 10. So for me, let's say I weigh 250 roughly right now. My BMR is about 2,500 calories a day, meaning that's the amount of food I would have to eat just to maintain homeostasis and status quo if I was laying in a bed all day. Okay? That's not going to change much by eating more often, okay? But what's going to happen is if you eat less often, if you do intermittent fasting, you're going to control insulin levels. Insulin is the most anabolic hormone in the body, but usually it's anabolic or growth promoting for fat storage. And you're going to increase insulin sensitivity, meaning when you eat, it's more likely to go to the places we want it to go. Okay, that's calorie partitioning, kind of controlling where the calories are going to go to some degree. But the insulin sensitivity, you're not going to have to output as much insulin to handle any glucose you're taking in, which is a great thing. Okay, when you're insulin resistant, I can almost guarantee you that your health is not where it should be, and that's going to put you in a pre-diabetic type 2 diabetes phase. So you got to eat less often, not more often. I'm a big fan of eating twice a day, and those meals should be really healthy size meals. And the last one I'll touch on with the 4 fallacies of fat loss is you can't eat before bed, because all of a sudden your metabolism shuts off when you go to bed, and everything you eat before bed is going to get stored as fat. Again, just moronic line of thinking. Something I figured out when I was competing in bodybuilding shows was that I would always place my carb meal, my biggest meal of the day, right before bed. I didn't do that the first couple of years, but what happened, I noticed I was starting to sleep better. Still got really lean for the bodybuilding shows. Now, if you look at how the nervous system works, you have the sympathetic and parasympathetic parts of the autonomic nervous system. So sympathetic and parasympathetic. Sympathetic is fight, flight, or freeze. Okay, that's survival. That's the way most people operate throughout the day, just because they're too stressed. They're not sleeping enough. They have psychological stress. They have financial stress, relationship stress. It doesn't matter. Then you have parasympathetic, which is rest, digest, recover, relax. Rest and digest, they go hand in hand. So most people have issues sleeping, so let's address that first. It's because they're in the sympathetic part of their nervous system. Their mind is still going. They're stressed, they're wired, and whatnot. Now, if we look at digestion, we want to be in a parasympathetic state when we eat. So that goes back to, I'll get back to the bed piece in a second, but if you don't have time to eat, skip that meal. You're better off not eating it than eating it in a stressed state. Okay, again, a lot of things go on with the hormones when we're in a stressed state, and it determines where the food is going to go and how insulin is output and all this type of stuff. So if we want to digest and rest properly, the best time of the day to have your biggest meal is right before bed, because you're going to go to sleep, and the increase in calories or carbs, if that's where I usually have my carbs for the day, is in that meal. Serotonin is going to be increased. You're going to get dopamine. So you're going to get these good things that are going to help you sleep. Okay. And if we're relaxed at that time, we're going to digest better. So it goes hand in hand. Now, most people I recommend to find one time during the middle of the day to eat when they can take a 20, 30-minute break. And then for dinner, most people's days should be pretty much over. You should not be doing work at 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock at night. I used to do that, and that's just retarded. You got to shut it down. And to do anything great in life, you need to be efficient, and you need to be well-rested. So remember that when you get this mindset that you can't be sleeping, because that's for the weak. So anyhow, not eating before bed, that's a mistake. That's when your biggest meal of the day should be, if you look at how the nervous system works, parasympathetic and sympathetic. So the fallacies of fat loss could go on, right? But I could tell you this, when I've gotten guys ready for bodybuilding shows in the past and the last few times I competed, there was no cardio, as most people know it. There was very, very little cardio done. It was training head to toe, and it was dieting properly. So that's all I got for the 4 fallacies of fat loss. If you have any questions on that, or if you have any questions you want to see me address in a future show, I'll be recording again tomorrow. So I'm going to start doing all of these podcasts live on here. And that's the principle of leverage. That's one of the things I believe in. You got to leverage your time and leverage what you're putting out. And I'll actually take this now and I'll write an article about it. So another lesson for you right there. And remember, with your mindset, do it because you can. See how far you can push yourself. Be the Ferrari. Be the Bugatti that's going to go 257 miles per hour. And be very clear on your mission and your purpose in life. Your brain needs clarity to move forward. That's it for episode 70. If you haven't liked it on iTunes yet, please like it, subscribe to it, and leave it a review. And I'll be back, I guess, tomorrow for episode number 71, which won't be released on iTunes until some point in December. That's it. Thanks for tuning in. Peace.
You've been listening to The Inner Strength Show. If you enjoyed the show, remember to subscribe, rate, and review us in iTunes.